Hello, America, and to our friends around the world, greetings. Welcome back. This is a Scappoose City Hall meeting, and you can see here on the left, Police Chief Chris Llewellyn, City Manager Dave, starts with a B. I really need to learn what his name is. In the center, flanked by the flags, is the Mayor, Backus, not to be confused with the actor Backus, who played Thurston Howell III on Gilligan's Island. On the left, on the mayor's right, on the screen's left, are two councilors that I don't recognize. They are sitting where Santiago and Andrew LaFrenz typically sit. On the right, starting with the Oregon flag, is Tyler Miller, council president, Kim Holmes, and I don't know his first name, but Councilor Hauser. Those three are on our right. And speaking is a local Scappoose resident who is upset about police handling. Now, what is relevant? The name Stephen Barnes. Stephen Barnes is an overweight, morbidly obese police officer who has a history of being questionable. Any interaction I've had with him, he's demanded ID. Anybody who's not familiar, what that means is he's trying to do a warrant check. I have no warrants. I've never been charged with anything. So this is the reason I'm offended by it is I know what he's doing. He's trying to, he's trying to get promotion points. I'm walking through Scappoose in August, roughly 2 years ago. And as I pass the city park, they're doing their August, pardon me, I was distracted. There was a little kid running on the security camera, and I thought they were alerting me to the chickens misbehaving or something. And I don't see them misbehaving, but I wanted to be certain. Anyway, so Stephen Barnes was harassing a woman at the August Movies in the Park that the library would host. As I'm walking south, she's walking away from him. He's following her less than 3 feet. And I'm walking by, and this is, over the course of 2 to 3 minutes that I'm observing this peripherally, and it's obvious she has no interest in him, but he's following her. I go and take care of my business, come back roughly 30 minutes later, he's still doing the same behavior. So this woman's going to call out Stephen Barnes as being essentially a creep, and I'm reluctant to say that because I don't like the derisive name being used on men, but Barnes has earned it. He has done a lateral transfer to Washington County, apparently. If you've ever seen him, you know for a fact he can't pass a physical. And when you've got these truck driving schools that were found out to be getting bribes for passing their students, you got to wonder what else is going on when these 350-pound, out of shape police officers do laterals. I'm not stating that there is anything. I am asking questions. All right. City Manager Alexandra Rains resigned. Soon after, I asked the question, and I posed this, that when she stated, it is our goal to rebuild the Scappoose Police Department, I said the assumption is that one is thinking that it would be rebuilt with integrity. The question that needs to be asked is it going to be rebuilt with integrity, or better at hiding corruption? She resigned about a month later, took a the assistant city manager job at a city on the east side of Portland. A month after that, the police chief, Lugal, resigned. A month after that, the council president resigned. Google, Brave search it, Grok AI it, I don't care. I used to have a list of it. I posted it on Nextdoor roughly 2 or 3 years ago. And that was hyperlinks to the Spotlight, which is the newspaper that covers Columbia County's activities, and the CBS affiliate KOIN, that of the corruption that the Scappoose Police has been documented and reported in the news of having, whether it's taking drugs from evidence and keeping them for themselves or questionable other activities. So this woman's statements are very, very timely because not only does Scappoose have a multi-decades history of corruption, St. Helens, 10 miles away, has a similar situation where they gave a pass to the woman principal of the high school whose teachers were abusing students. Look that one up. That was the libs of TikTok and the homeschool guy on Twitter, as well as others, have referenced this. Then you've got the nonsense 20 miles away in Portland at present. You've got the stuff with Cam Higbee, Katie Daviscourt, shoot, she's a nice lady. Oh shoot, CK. If I slaughter your name, I apologize. Oh shoot, I just had it. Dang it. Come on. CK Boo Farash, Honey Badger mom. And they've been documenting the stuff at the ICE facility of all the Antifa nonsense. Anyway, as you can tell, Northwest Oregon has tremendous amounts of corruption. This is part of the reason I'm very adamant that you, whether you're in Oregon or you're anywhere else, need to attend or at least monitor the broadcast of your city council meetings to find out what is really going on. Another name that's going to come up is Isaac Budman. He was the former assistant city manager. He is the one that tipped me off to the questionable massage parlor that is going to be referenced by this woman, as well as the Scappoose City Council pursuing an avenue of disbanding the police in favor of the sheriff's department taking over coverage duty. Now, I'm going to tie this into another community in Columbia County. Scappoose, St. Helens, Clatskanie are all three on various locations of Columbia County. Clatskanie, their police department was disbanded several years ago, and it's relevant to this. What this woman's talking about is her children being harassed because of Barnes screwing up, Llewellyn apparently screwing up, and this Scappoose government screwing up. Now, if you're not familiar, this man is Richard Whitehead. He, in roughly 20 some years ago, for 1 year, ran Columbia County's 911 communications. He now runs what's called forensic statement analysis. So if you type in Richard Whitehead forensic statement analysis, you can get training on how to do all of that and learn what it is. He was the top dog for Columbia County's 911. He and I spoke, and he said Columbia County absolutely refuses to do anything about their dispatch system, whether it's to upgrade it or to take it seriously. This woman is going to demonstrate that in her testimony here before the council. I'm going to add that in 25 years that it is a problem. It is most likely corrupt. If you look into Tyler Miller, who is the council president, look at his dealings with the 911 commissioners, you're going to find something is rotten. All right, so the young man here is Travis Clifford. He died in 1998, self-inflicted, and he succumbed to peer pressure. This is what this woman is talking about for her children and the slow walking that Barnes and the rest of the Scappoose Police Department did, as well as everything else that they screwed up. This is the result of the police department screwing up. Travis Clifford was, a well-liked student in Clatskanie. This is part of the reason Clatskanie doesn't have a police department. They held a students' town hall after a party was busted. The short version is this. A previous party was held at a previous point in time, roughly 1996, 1997. An individual left it to walk to Longview. They were drunk. They were stupid. 20-mile walk in the middle of the night. They were hit by a vehicle and died. After some time had gone by, the students of Clatskanie High School and in that community decided to have another party. And apparently Mr. Clifford had gone to it, advising them, this is a bad idea. Look what happened to our friend the last time we did this. The police let everybody think it was Mr. Clifford who had tipped them off, that had caused the party to be busted by the police. And then that led to Mr. Clifford, because of all the peer pressure, taking his own life. Mr. and Mrs. Clifford, Bill and Lori Clifford, had interviewed 911 dispatchers who confirmed that it wasn't Mr. Travis, that it was the police setting him up, but they were coerced, to put it lightly, into not testifying. So when I demonstrate with these anecdotes, because that's what it is, I am not providing the links to the aforementioned corruption of Scappoose. You can look it up. You can look up Travis Clifford. You can look up, the city councilor or the city president, council president resigning, the city manager resigning, the police chief resigning, whatever. I don't care. But there is corruption. There has to be. And it's not just Scappoose, it is county wide. They slow walked it. There's questions. This mother is taking this up. And this is the result. Travis Clifford took his life because of peer pressure. That, you can make your arguments for that one way or the other. But bottom line is the police allowed it to continue. They then got caught with their hand in the cookie jar and were pretty much shut down for essentially being racist. So they have a long Clatskanie has a long history of corruption. St. Helens has its issues with corruption, and Scappoose has well over 20 years of corruption. And that's why I mentioned Mr. Whitehead when I went to one of his seminars when I was a private investigator. That's when I had the opportunity to talk to him privately about issues with Columbia County Dispatch. And since then, yeah, they're very, very incompetent. The only thing that they've managed to do right is dispatch emergency services for my friend who died roughly 2 years ago when he was alive, and for another friend who had medical issues. They were very responsive, but when it came to anything else, abysmal. They couldn't tell their posterior to a hole in the ground. So um, the irony is Backus, who Scappoose, mayor, 2-year term, ran on a safety. That was his thing. Is the people of Scappoose deserve to be safe, and she points out only the elites are. And I'm going to illustrate a point. A couple of years ago, a woman was talking about a vagrant who was throwing trash cans like over a fence or into her yard. I mean, throwing debris into her yard. She called, no response. But the very next day, not one, not two, 3 patrol cars. You know where they were at? At the freaking intersection of Columbia and Second, where the city hall and police department are located. There was a fender bender, and you had 3 responding units, and if I'm not mistaken, 3 to 4 officers. Scappoose doesn't have that many officers to begin with, and to have that many respond to a fender bender outside City Hall versus a woman who's out in the wilderness being harassed by potentially a compromised individual, that clearly illustrates their priority, as this woman is going to illuminate. So this ran long, but there is anecdotal history, as because I'm not providing the references. I could, I'm choosing not to, because they're there. If it's important enough to you, you will type it in yourself. You'll ask the questions in the comments. America Uncovered says, hey, put a little flag emoji in the comments. So do the like, subscribe, share, put a flag. You don't have to make a real comment unless you want to. But at the very least, start attending virtually, doing it online if you want. Download it so you can play it on fast or do it in sections or whatever. I don't care. But start paying attention to what it is that your local government is doing or saying versus what they're doing, and call them out on it. And with that, I'm going to let this woman speak so you can understand her anger and her being what prompted her to be there. Now, is she right? I don't know. I am only stating that as somebody who has dealt with Scappoose, it is the most stuck-up community I have ever lived. Seattle, San Antonio, DC, Astoria. So I'll leave it with that.
Good evening, Mayor Backus and council members. My name is Alicia Higas and I'm a resident of Scappoose. I'm here tonight to address ongoing failures in transparency, accountability, and equal protection under the law. These failures have eroded public trust and revealed a pattern of self-protection and concealment within city leadership. When the city discussed potential budget cuts to address the deficit, there was no mention of reviewing or dissolving the assistant to city manager position previously held by Isaac Button. That was a full-time salaried role. If eliminated, those funds should have reduced the deficit. If the salary was absorbed elsewhere, taxpayers deserve to know where and why. The public cannot trust financial management when even basic staffing and spending changes are hidden from view. On May 15, 2025, I submitted a public records request for employee contracts. The city revealed several, including Nora Miller's and Brian Jensen's, but refused to release those for Chief Chris Llewellyn and Steve Lugal. Before I ever contacted Council President Tyler Miller, staff told me Llewellyn isn't part of the police union and is a city employee. That is not a lawful reason to withhold a taxpayer-funded contract. When I later reached out to Tyler Miller, he supported the refusal rather than promoting transparency. When I asked for police training records, I was quoted $1,866.82 for information that is freely available on the DPSST website. Those records show Chief Llewellyn didn't earn his management certification until March 4th, 2025, long after being appointed acting chief in July 2024. Even more concerning, Officer Steve Barnes, despite documented misconduct, was never disciplined and instead transferred to the Washington County Sheriff's Office. This city has a culture of self-protection, not accountability. Both the Scappoose Police Department and the Scappoose School District withheld critical information about the September 2024 school threat incident. There was a gun brought onto campus, but it was not by my son. The official SPD report, case number 240043172, shows Officer Barnes waited nearly 5 months until February 1st, 2025 to identify the real student who brought the Glock 19 replica BB gun to school. That delay preserved a false narrative and allowed my son to be harassed and ostracized. I later learned through public discussion that a petition was circulated among students demanding Conrad's removal from school. Yet I was never informed by any school or city official that this even existed. Students were sent back to class for inciting a riot, showing that the district was more concerned with the optics than my son's educational rights or safety. They created the hostile environment and then punished him for it. In April 2024, my husband, Casey Higas, emailed Lieutenant Chris Llewellyn and Interim Director Brian Jensen, warning that false rumors could lead to a swatting attempt. We never received a response. Only after multiple public records requests did we obtain the email chain proving they received the message and ignored it. Brian Jensen asked if anyone had contacted us, and he would if nobody else had. But Frank Basso replied that he and Llewellyn would handle it, something that never happened. It now appears they stopped Jensen from responding, so there would be no record of their knowledge when the false gun threat surfaced months later. By preventing documentation, they erased evidence that the department had been warned in advance. This was not oversight, it was deliberate concealment to protect themselves. When we reported that our younger son Eli was being harassed by a neighbor, harassment that stemmed from false rumors spread about his older brother Conrad, Chief Llewellyn claimed he would follow up. Instead, he instructed Officer Gabriel Johnson to contact the principal of Scappoose High School. The internal report literally says, "Principal will be checking in and monitoring his behavior." Our child, the victim, was treated as the problem. That is retaliation, not public service. In a separate incident, I asked Chief Llewellyn to make a mandatory report to the child abuse hotline regarding misconduct by a teacher at the high school. Rather than willingly fulfilling his legal duty as a mandated reporter, he opposed the report and threatened me with DHS, saying, "We can go that route if you want." He later falsified information in that report to protect the district and himself. Even more troubling, Llewellyn recorded our conversation for his personal use and shared that recording with the school district, breaching personal ethics and my family's privacy. That act was coercive, retaliatory, and unethical, showing his willingness to weaponize authority instead of acting in good faith. This pattern continued in August 2025 when I emailed the city regarding a massage business operating illegally. The mayor, city council, and city manager were all included in those messages. Instead of addressing the violation, Chief Llewellyn suggested conducting unannounced inspections of all massage therapists in Scappoose, referencing my past objection to an officer entering my business under false pretenses. He asked if my perception had changed and offered to meet in person to discuss it. This message felt like a veiled threat. I said a suggestion that if I continued speaking out, my business or my colleagues would be subjected to unwarranted scrutiny. It was retaliation and intimidation carried out through the abuse of his position and witnessed by city leadership who did nothing to stop it. Scappoose doesn't have a functioning police department. We have a private security for the privileged. At the January 6, 2025 council meeting, Mayor Backus stated publicly that when he locked his keys in his child's car, he called Chief Llewellyn, who personally came to unlock it for him. Yet when I called dispatch for help, I don't even get a return call or email. When Chief Llewellyn was on vacation, Acting Chief Ron Larson ignored my non-emergency dispatch call regarding false reports made by Llewellyn and the Dean of Students at Otto Peterson Elementary. I waited 6 weeks without any response before finally emailing the city to report that no one had followed up. It was clear they had no intent to address the issue. Even obtaining a case number from Chief Llewellyn became an argument. His response was combative and dismissive. This is not equal protection under the law. It's selective service for insiders and retaliation for those who speak up. Oregon and federal law are both clear. Under ORS 244.040, public officials are prohibited from using public resources for personal gain. Under ORS 192.620, the public has the right to know the decisions and actions of its government. At the federal level, 18 U.S.C. 241 makes it a crime for officials or others to conspire to threaten, injure, or intimidate anyone exercising their constitutional rights. 18 U.S.C. 242 makes it a felony to willfully deprive someone of those rights under the color of law. And 18 U.S.C. 1346, honest service fraud, defines schemes that deprive citizens of their right to honest service from public officials through deception, abuse of power, or concealment of duty. While there may be no direct evidence of bribes or kickbacks yet, there is clear evidence of dishonest service, collusion, and abuse of public trust. These actions reflect kleptocracy and potential embezzlement, the exploitation of public office for personal and political advantage. If this council continues to fund and defend these actions, you are not just complicit, you are participating in them. Continuing to pay officials who break the law is both unethical and illegal under state and federal law. That in itself is an emollient violation. Scappoose was once the first city in Oregon to adopt Ordinance 910, a regulation that set professional standards and ethical expectations for massage therapy businesses. It reflected a time when this city valued accountability, compliance, and doing what was right. That same sense of responsibility has been lost. Instead of protecting citizens, this administration has protected officials who have engaged in criminal misconduct, abuse of power, and retaliation. The actions I've described tonight are potential federal crimes under Title 18 of the United States Code. Based on the evidence, Chief Llewellyn and others appear to have willingly violated citizens' civil rights, conspired to deprive my family of equal protection, and abuse their authority under the color of law. These acts must be investigated and prosecuted by federal authorities. I am not here to attack anyone personally, but I am here to demand accountability under the law. No one, regardless of their title or position, is above it. Mayor Backus and the members of the City Council, you have been aware of this misconduct, you have watched it unfold, and you have done nothing to stop it. So tonight, I urge you to do the right thing, terminate the employment of Chief Chris Llewellyn and City Manager Ben Berginger immediately. And to the new members of this council, I ask that you look closely at what has been happening under your leadership team and take meaningful action to restore integrity to this city. God and history will remember your choices and your silence. Thank you for letting me finish.